Hello, welcome to the Digital Rights Africa podcast, where we talk about everything data protection and privacy, child online protection, data governance, cybersecurity, and intellectual property issues across Africa. I am your host, Teki Akuetteh, and today I'm excited to have been joined by the Director of the Eswatini Data Protection Authority. I am very not good with the sounds part of his name, and so I would just want him to introduce himself to our audience. So kindly mention your name the right way, right? So we can learn how to do it right.
Thank you, Tek, and it's a pleasure to be on your show. My name is Sicelo Simelane.
Sicelo.
Sicelo.
Oh my God. We'll learn that before we finish this. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's my first time participating in one of your events.
Yes.
I've been following you on Twitter. And
oh
everywhere.
no! Oh no!
So it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, and it's also a real pleasure to have you. For us, one of the objectives of having this is to really showcase, especially when it comes to data protection and privacy, what is happening in Africa. We normally don't have a platform to share much of what is happening, particularly in the data protection space there. And so it's a real pleasure to have you here as well. And yeah, to begin, we just want to understand, when were you set up?
I think it's been, I would say, a 2 years journey now.
Okay.
Eswatini passed the Data Protection Act in 2022. It came into force on the 4th of March, 2022. But then we established the Data Protection Authority in December 2022.
Okay.
So basically we started operations in January 2023. And we had our first Data Protection Day on the 26th of January 2023, where the EDPA was launched on that day. And ever since that, it's been a smooth, rough journey, but I think I'm starting to enjoy it. We are set up in such a way that we are within the telecoms regulator. We're not like a separate authority. What happens is that there's a Eswatini Communications Commission, who basically is the telecoms broadcasting convergence regulator. So the mandate of that regulator was then extended to data protection. And then we created the Data Protection Authority within ESCOM. And I was given the big responsibility then to start that authority from the ground.
I have been in the starting seat, and I know is not a pleasant one.
No.
But I'm hoping your journey has been more pleasant, especially because you were maybe within, an existing authority. Most of the communication regulators we view as are well-resourced and all of that. So how would you say that maybe softened your journey, or made it more difficult?
Actually, that was the advantage. We wouldn't have been able to carry our mandate if we were established perhaps independently. So we're basically using the resources of the existing regulator, and it's been a pleasure that we've had support even from the chief executive, Mr. Dlamini. We've had support from government. We've had support from the industry. It was a new entity, a new thing. As you would know, that within the SADC region, we were probably the third country to establish a Data Protection Authority after Angola and South Africa. Then we were third. So we're basically one of the forerunners currently. But it's been a good journey, and I must say that since I started the job, when I got in, I think 2 months into the job, I was asking myself, what did I put myself into here? There's a lot to be done. It's a virgin ground. You are talking about
Nobody
data
understands
protection.
what you're
Everyone
talking
is
about.
asking,
It's like, what is that?
What's wrong with our data? Who
what
cares?
is it? Who cares?
Yeah, so it's been a journey. But in terms of support, we've had amazing support from the, I would say, from the Commission and also from the Ministry of ICT.
That's wonderful to hear. I mean, what have been some of your biggest challenges, and what were the learnings from there?
I think one of the biggest challenges was also trying to push the awareness, trying to push the understanding. Data protection, as I mentioned, is a new thing. Nobody cared much, nobody was concerned much about it. But then the biggest challenge that came was when in our legislation, we have to do registrations.
Yes.
We have to register all entities that are processing personal data. Now you can imagine some entities have never been regulated in their lives. And you are saying now they should register as data controllers. And of course, there's a registration fees that we levied. And now you start to see a pushback from those. But I think what helped us is the engagement. We had robust engagement. We had documents put out for public consultations, stakeholders, commenting on them, giving us their views. And then after a while, we got the buy-in of the stakeholders and most of the data controllers. So it's one of the things that we've been busy with, the registration of data controllers. And I remember that being a small country, we initially had a target of registering 300 data controllers in the year, in this current year, because we started March. But as I'm here, I know it's been a success because we now have over 400 registered. And they are coming voluntarily. Every day we are seeing registrations because I think when you go out and engage with them and they see the value in the registration, they see that by registration you are already complying. It's one of the steps to complying with the Data Protection Act. You're also building trust with your customers and your clients. They know that you now have, we now have a regulator that will oversee how their data is used. Is that kind of engagement that has kept us going. And maybe one of the biggest challenge, again, is the resources and personnel. Because we that's why I'm saying maybe we were lucky to be within
so you don't have financial problems.
Those are the biggest.
But you have...
Those are the biggest because currently, yes, we are the telecom regulator, but that is not a sustainable model. We still have to work out our model of financing because we're not getting any subvention from government. So, and the registration fees are so little. It's not like they're going to sustain the authority. But what we are doing, we will be developing a 5-year strategy for the authority starting next year. And within the strategy, there will be proposed financing model for the authority. So that's it.
That sounds promising. I mean, talking about the challenges, you had mentioned, even though yes, you had maybe a cushion, a soft start, right, to the process. Clearly, you're not out, but you also hinted on personnel. What are some of the biggest challenges or gaps you're seeing in that?
It also has to do with the expertise and skills. As you know, data protection is a new thing. Nobody went to university to study data protection. It's not even it's not even part of our curriculum. We do it post grad perhaps. It's not like it's part of our curriculum. Maybe for others, but for us again, it's the skills. Again, it also talks to the financial stability because if you have personnel, then it means we should have enough funds to be paying for all the stuff. But what we are doing is that we have partnered with some other institutions. We recently signed an MOU with the information regulator in South Africa, which will assist us in terms of skills sharing with them and their expertise, because they are far ahead.
Wow, yeah.
So we hope to benefit a lot from them. And we joined NADPA.
The Network of Data Protection Authority.
A year ago. Also in an effort to gain insight from people who have been doing this for some time. So we hope that the expertise and the experiences that we gain from such forums, this was also the reason why I came to this forum, because I knew that there will be a mixture of expertise like yourselves. You took us through the DPIA process. Like, it was my first time to hear someone taking you through that process. Yeah. We require operators to do that. Yes. But the truth of the matter is that we've never done it ourselves.
We go to them and we say, do a DPIA. You have to show that you've conducted a DPIA.
So those are some of the things. But to tell you the truth, we enjoying the space. We are getting all the support. We have support to attend such forums. We have to support to participate in other international forums. So I think
that's great. I mean, looking at resources internally, that's a very hard sell, because I remember when I was setting up Ghana's Data Protection Commission. At some point, I almost felt alone, and even with me, I felt like I didn't have all the resources and knowledge that I needed to implement. I knew of data protection. We had worked on the laws. I know a bit of it, but I wasn't practically implementing, and that has not been my work. So it was very hard when you're now in the position of a regulator, and then you have to think about that. But beyond that, we have the outside world, right? I mean, your community of data controllers and processors that have to comply with the laws. How are you dealing with this resource constraint, right? Because if they don't know, even if they are willing and they don't know or understand what the processes are or what they need to do, capacity-wise, how can they comply, and how are you looking at some of those challenges from that point?
Yes, and one thing that we've been doing is also engaging with the data controllers. With the limited resources that we have, so far we've been able to go out to the data controllers. We get invitations every day, come and unpack this for us. What are the compliance points? What do we need to do to comply? And we realize that, yes, we do that, but it needs resources, and we need, I would say, partners to go out to partner with in such. And of course, now and again, we will need those partners, and perhaps outsource some of those programs, because we cannot cope with the demand. The data controllers are here, say we want to comply. Come and assist us. Yes, we do now and again, but with the resources that we have, we may not be able to satisfy all of them. So we need to have strategies on how we are going to cater for those, which is why we are also in this process of developing a strategy. One of the pillars within the strategy would be public awareness or public engagement. It's one of the biggest things that we need to do. But one thing that we've also done, in our law, it is mandatory to have data protection officers for controllers. So we issued a directive for controllers to start appointing or designating data protection officers, and most of them did. And then this year we had our first workshop for data protection officers. We had a consultant coming in from Kenya to offer practical training on them in terms of doing their data inventory, even some aspects of the data protection impact assessments. They were trained on that, records management and all of the stuff. So that was our first, I would say, training that we had for data protection officers.
I mean, talking about awareness, I want to look at the awareness from public awareness, not necessarily data controllers. most of the time, one of the things that we see a lot, particularly around Africa, because I also think that we have a peculiar challenge. Maybe the rest of the world have it, but I have seen it also in Africa a lot because of our languages, right? I always say that the language of the internet, and for some reason of digitization, and also for some reason it's extended even to things like data protection, cybersecurity, and the like. All these languages are very formal, right? So we're communicating these things either in English, French, and not necessarily. How are you able to address this challenge through your public awareness issues? Because in my language, for instance, I don't think there's a word for privacy or data protection per se. And it was always a difficulty because, you know, to have a good data protection program, you need to have the data subjects and individuals and the larger population and citizens a part of that drive.
It's a challenge, and to start with, we have not been doing much on public awareness. It is our biggest activity for next year. For this year, we were starting with the controllers, the people who hold the data, and then next year we are going out to the public. But one of the things, it's exactly what you are saying. People have been asking us, what is data protection in Siswati? That is our local language. And we started to think, what is data protection in Siswati?
And what is it?
I don't even know. But those are some of the things that we are trying to come up with. We're trying to localize some of the messages that we will be sending out to. We have to localize, put them in the local language. Because if you are now starting to go out to the public, you don't want to be there speaking English and everything. You can't.
They won't understand.
They will not understand. So we need to localize it, and it's one of the things that the team that will be go out will be. They are busy crafting messages in local language, so that it can appeal to the public. We also have access to our own to radio stations in the country. So we have the Commission has a program, their running program. So now and again we will be using that. We have it's a small country. If you have one radio station that will take up perhaps a 30 minutes program on data protection in a local language, that we hope will work. But yes, you are right. And again, the other issue is not only the language, but it's also the resources in terms of going out to the communities. Because once you go out to the communities, and the thing that you have to expect is you should be ready again. When the people know about their data subject rights,
you have to enforce.
You have to have enforcement. You have to be ready with your complaints mechanisms, and so those are some of the things that you need to put in place before even embarking on that journey. So that's
clearly you still have a journey ahead of you.
It's a long journey ahead. Yes.
Yeah, clearly you have a long journey ahead. But what would you say? I mean, I'm sure that definitely once you launched, right, there has been some level of public interaction with the issues. How has that gone? What is the public, how would I say it, the public sentiments around the issues of, do they even appreciate it at all? Or is a general thing like, oh, this is just another thing you're bringing to bother us, or we're not interested?
Actually, we were surprised how much the public wanted this. At first we thought, people don't care about this, but as we started to, and we have so much media coverage sometimes, and people are saying we needed this a long time ago. It should have been set up a long time ago. Our data is everywhere. Our data is splashed in the newspapers, in the Facebook, in the social media. So those are some of the things that people are saying.
So people are generally concerned.
Yes, we're already starting to get complaints, even now, to say, what are you dealing with the bank so and so? Because they called me unsolicited marketing material. Where did they get my number? I did not consent to this. We're starting to see that.
Wow.
So imagine now if we have already taken out the public awareness.
Yeah.
So we'll be
then that
getting a
would
lot of those. But people
increase.
are appreciating it. We have social media page. We have our website. It's one of the most visited websites. IT was showing me the statistics the other day.
Okay.
People are visiting our
Do you
website.
have a lot of, like most African countries, I know your country is small, do you have a lot of other languages apart from?
Fortunately for us, we have one language.
Okay, okay, so then that
it's
helps.
English or Siswati.
Okay.
We don't have any other language because
okay.
it's only one
One,
language,
yeah,
one tribe.
yeah.
It's not like going to this village, you have
Yeah,
to prepare special
exactly.
messages for
Okay.
this tribe. So
Then
at
that,
least
that
they can
helps.
be-
That
that will
helps.
help
That
us.
helps
Yes,
a
yes,
lot. That
yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
And because even with that, I was going to ask, do you, because sometimes one of the things we see in the research that we conduct, right, that level of awareness differs with different, differs depending on the socioeconomic standing of citizens.
Yeah.
Right, so the more maybe those that fall within the lower economic brackets are less likely to have a lot more information. Not that they don't have a sense of the fact that they need to be protected in those areas. They still have that notion of the fact that their data should be protected, but their level of awareness is much lower compared to someone that is maybe of a higher income bracket.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've seen or noticed so far?
Actually, I think it's common everywhere, especially within Africa. It's the same. It's the same. We've seen that, and one of the activities that we're going to be doing next year is to do data protection awareness survey.
Survey, baseline.
Just a baseline survey to on the understanding. What is the understanding currently and prior to the launch of the authority? We're also looking at that. But of course, that's true. Especially they're also vulnerable groups. It depends on those societal demographics again. So we are aware of that, and it's a common problem.
I really love the notion of a baseline survey. What is driving that? Because I don't hear that a lot from a number of data protection authorities.
It's that we want to find out, especially what was there before. What did people?
You want to be able to measure
to
and
measure
say that you are working.
Whether where is the graph going?
Yeah.
Is it going up? What was the baseline surface? In fact, I got that idea having read the a report from the Nigerian Data Protection Authority. They did that baseline survey. I said, wow, that would be a good start to know what was there before, and perhaps you can even track where it's going, the awareness levels, and in that sense you'll also be able to tell
measure
and you'll be able to tell who were already who are the demographics will tell you. This sector was always aware and they care about their data, but the others, perhaps the youth and everyone will tell you a different story. So that's what we want to do.
And I think it also really helps with resource, especially scarce resource allocation, right? Because then when you're working with your prioritization and all of that, you're able to do that. There was one other question that was coming to mind when you were talking about baseline surveys around the notion of data protection authorities measuring themselves, right? And this whole concept around, well, I mean, based on what we've seen so far across Africa, we've seen a bit of a challenge. Now, for some of us sitting in the civil society space, especially when we look at things like, it may not necessarily apply to Eswatini, but when we look at things like data protection authorities that have been in existence for more than 10 years and the like, we're asking ourselves, is the law achieving the right impact in those organizations? Enforcement is usually very low or abysmal. to put it that way. For no, it's through no fault of anyone. But then when you think about all this, should we be thinking about a different approach to how we look at these things? Should we be thinking about outcomes as data protection authorities? Should we be thinking about harms so that we're able to focus our energy and our resources on particular areas, based on some of the issues that we've sometimes discussed in the past around outcome-based approach to regulation?
I think regulation evolves, and it has to evolve with time and depending on the circumstances. Someone was saying whether or not should we be calling ourselves data protection authorities or harm regulators, because ultimately you're trying to prevent harm. So those are some of the things, and the idea of our outcome-based regulation. I think we have to move towards that, but I must say that currently we are not there. We're just, authorities, regulators, and I've seen how regulation evolves.
Can we lure Eswatini, because you are still new, you're very young?
Yes,
to start thinking around whether that will work or not. Maybe you need to pilot it.
We will look at that. It's unfortunately or fortunately, we are coming later, but we also have to learn from the mistakes of others. And we have a chance.
Or you can chart your own path.
We can chart our own path, but we don't want to go on a dangerous path. We will do it.
Of course, alongside.
Yes, alongside. But we don't want to be a regulator of the past. We're not the police. We don't want to be the regulator that puts up a speed trap.
I like that.
We want to assist organizations to comply. We're not like setting traps for them. You don't comply, we're waiting for you, here's a fine coming. We want to assist them comply. Of course, where there's non-compliance, then enforcement measures will definitely come in, because you have those powers in the law, but you are very careful on how you exercise those powers. You can dangle a carrot while carrying a stick. Put the carrot and the stick.
I like both.
So you have to have both. You know when to dangle a carrot, you know when to put up a stick. So that's the kind of regulation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful to have you here. I'm hoping that maybe the next time we will be interviewing you in your home country. And I'm looking forward to coming. Probably I need to stay for months to learn the language.
Yes.
And make sure that my tongue can pronounce your name properly.
That will be nice. I'll tell you the right time to come to Eswatini. Eswatini is heaven on earth.
Okay.
We always have cultural events throughout the year. It's a nice country to be in. You would love it. To
our audience too, you've heard it. We all need to go to Eswatini to learn about their culture. And he just told me that the big five are there. So I'm definitely going to follow suit. But all too soon, we've come to the end of another episode of the Digital Rights Africa podcast. Thank you once again for joining us. And if you still have not subscribed to our channels, kindly click that subscribe button to ensure that anytime we put up another episode, you are alerted to enjoy it. Have a good day. Thank you.